What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets. We are going to be talking a little NBA. Coming off a really lousy night on DraftKings for me. A good night on FanDuel. I played 3 entries in the Monster, and 2 of them cashed. The other one was a half a point off of cashing, so that was good. And then I did well in the other stuff over there, the single entries and nonsense. But nothing special. Overall, a pretty lousy night for me. Before we get into this, I was venting to Sheets about my baseball slate because we had an error overturned, and Bueller was credited back things from 2 days ago for baseball, and that would have won me the 10K a couple days ago, which was not a huge amount or anything, but it would have been nice to win it. And I think I finished 6th or 7th. I can't remember which one it was, but the Bueller overturn on the obvious error, for some reason they called it a hit at first. That was frustrating, but yeah, we're back at it today for NBA. Sheets, what are your thoughts? How'd you do? And
I could have used them giving a hit at the ball that Mookie dropped in center field.
Oh yeah.
I had Darno was the only guy that didn't do anything for me last night. I did all right in baseball yesterday. I didn't do well in basketball at all. That's the NBA, man. NBA is tough.
Boy, NBA is tough, and I know we're talking about NBA here, but baseball is it's a real funny thing how things can change in a hurry. One day Mookie's the legend of all legends. Next day he can't pick up a ball in the outfield. And then all of a sudden all the narratives change. It's just really interesting. Anyway, we'll go game by game here on this 3-gamer. It's again, we talked about this, about how it's harder to get creative and win these tournaments and all this stuff. But at the same time, I swear, me and you over the past couple of years, that it's the really, really short slates we've done really, really well.
Well, one thing, by the way, that I think we should talk about, even the first couple of days, or these rookies have been doing well. I don't know about actual basketball, but in fantasy, I mean, you had the Duarte had a big game. I think he might have had 30 real life points or something like that. And who else? Not the rookie, but Nora the other day. Who did well yesterday?
Mobley played great yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to be on top of that. I'm sitting here locking in Dinwiddie. And you have all these these juiced up rookies with incredible variance upside that should be playing. So that was probably a mistake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I don't think Dinwiddie was necessarily a mistake. They got absolutely smashed. They were down 30 points in that game and almost instantly. So my favorite games to stack were that one and the Minnesota game. So obviously I'm not going to do real well when you get, these giant deficits right away. Right. And Kevin Porter Jr. just gets in foul trouble.
That was a disaster.
So, things happen. All right. Well, let's get into today's. Why don't you bring up your screen and we'll go through game by game here, because we're going to say a lot. There's some interesting games. These are all really high and tight games. So it should be a lot of fun.
Just again, an update. Tomorrow, I'm leaving for the weekend. I'm going to do the best that I can with everything, but yeah.
And I appreciate it. I got you covered.
Oh, and by the way, guys, if you can get used to it, we're learning how to do this just as I'm teaching you, hopefully, how to look at it. But we have this schedule up on TrueDFS now, where you can hopefully get a chance to see when things are going to get posted or what to expect and things like that. I just literally learned last night how to even update anything on the Google sheet, and I was spending a little bit of the morning trying to put stuff up, recurring stuff, like on a certain time the MMA slates we posted every day during the weekdays. I put in, there'd be live before live. I put it in for 6 o'clock normally, but obviously some days they're going to change depending on the different slate. And so try to get used to going to that schedule to give you an idea of what's going to be happening.
Eventually we'll have it clickable and linkable to the videos directly and things like that. And we're going to keep improving stuff on the sites. And guys, we always appreciate any feedback. So I also, while we're talking about that, I remember I'm going to be doing next Tuesday, we'll be starting my little Bobby's room. We'll be doing a questions and answers, and sort of any thoughts or any DFS issues any site member has. We're going to go through, and we're going to talk do a little, a general coaching session for multiple people at the same time. Awesome. So that should be fun. All right. Let's talk about the first game here, Dallas, Atlanta. Sheets, why don't you give me your thoughts on this one first, because I think this is where I want to spend my money.
Well, the first thing I would say is that my top 2 values on the slate are from this game. And that would be Dwight Powell and Jalen Brunson. They're both just over 3K, and on a points per dollar basis, they rate to be the best. But I will tell you that they don't rate to be that great. In other words, like last night, there were these guys that were at this price that were projected to be like 7-8x. These guys are only projecting like just south of 6x. So it's not as if they're just tremendous smash plays, but just as far as values go, that's the best that I was able to come up with. With respect to actual plays, I like Luca and I like Trey. And then after that, well, I said like Luca, and then I like Trey. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like Luca and Trey the most. Luca, then significantly better. Then I have Trey, Capella, and then a drop down to Collins and Bogdan. That's on the Atlanta side. That's actually on both sides. So there's Lucas. Anybody else on Dallas? I don't have anybody else on Dallas on my board, honestly, except for the guys that I mentioned.
I'll be all over KP tonight.
Oh, okay.
I like KP a ton. I like.
Oh, actually, I do have him here. Sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think the top four for Powell, Brunson, Porzingis, and Doncic are all going to be priorities for me. Okay. I'm still debating what I want to do with the Brunson and Powell thing. I think I would lean Brunson over Powell if I had to use one value spot. But I do love Luka here. I'm kind of confused with the ownerships. I'll get into it in the next game. I've seen the story a million times. And look, you're always going to be wrong. When something happens 8 times in a row, so there's going to be a 9th time where you're wrong. But I'll talk about it in the next game, what I've got a strong take on. DeAndre Hunter on the Atlanta side and Trae Young are the guys I'm looking at over there. I think John Collins is also too cheap. So it's just I think I have a slight edge to KP over Collins, but I think that you could make an argument to go completely the other way. This could be a real breakout-ish type of year for Collins. He's kind of streaky anyway. I like him for DFS because he's usually low owned and he's a very streaky player because of the way they use him and they've got so many bodies and all that. But I think that he's kind of interesting. And it is interesting that no one wants to play Clint Capella, right? Like, I mean, is there a real thing that I'm missing? Do we have a minutes cap or something on him? Because I have him at 28 minutes. I think that could easily turn into 32, 34 minutes. And as I know, we saw Clint Capella score 60 plus like 6 times last year. And this is a great matchup for him to rebound, block shots, and do his thing, get those alley-oops. I think Clint Capella is a really strong tournament play because I think he's going to be the low-owned option, at least as of this morning. That's how I have it rated. So there's a lot to take from this game, but the main key piece is Luka and Trey for me. And I really do want exposure to KP. And I think Capella, maybe I would even say I take Capella over Collins and KP. I mean, we've seen the ceiling out of this guy. And if he's really going to be as low owned and low projected as he is, I think it's a really strong play and we should get on board. I also think DeAndre Hunter, I think I don't know. I would like to think they'd limit him after he's coming off of the injury and everything, but I don't know if they actually will because he tends to play minutes when he's in there. So those are the guys who I have. And then your fringe pieces are the not Powell, Brunson. Those are the value pieces, but Collins. I don't think I'm using anybody else in this game, but I do think this is the game where I'm going to be having my most activity.
Yeah, I happen to like the other one. I happen to like Bam more than Capella at a similar price. Now he's going to be twice his own, I think. So there's that. And I think Atlanta, I think they're the same issues with Atlanta as I was dealing with last year when they were healthy, right? I mean, it's a lot of I won't say mouths to feed, but it looks like a pretty spread out situation between Collins, Bogdanovich. I'm just looking at guys that can do stuff, DeAndre Hunter, Trey, Capella. I guess on a short slate, it doesn't matter too much. Yeah. But and again, they're making these pricing. They're continuing to price everybody really soft. Especially in a 3-game slate. You have to make it a little. I would think they make it a little more difficult. But I think everybody mentioned in and of themselves is a really good price. But I don't know, relative value to the other guys, how it's going to work out. So I mean, I'm pretty much with you. I think I don't know. I had this weird feeling. I think I'm going to like the other game more though.
Okay, well, let's talk about this because I have a very strong take to fade Giannis here. I understand that everything, every reason why that would be a mistake. Let me just give a brief synopsis. This team of all teams, especially the games in Miami, have been his worst outings of all time. And I mean epically bad outings. My cousins were at 2 of them. I was there. I went to one game at one of them. He scored 30 and 33 fantasy points in these matchups in Miami. And for him, that's like that. I mean, obviously the nut low. You can't really get lower than that for Giannis. One game, I think he had 6 points and like 11 rebounds and 3 assists or something. It was like, you just don't even know what's happening with him. There's a lot of things that happen throughout the course of a season. A lot of it was around those games used to were around Christmas time. Those were also, they were nights off after travel, which so is this one. And every time he travels, especially to Miami, but even at home against Miami, and in the postseason, sure, he had more success. It's a little different in the postseason. But I'm looking at it as a regular season game that I'm not saying he's out partying, because Giannis is actually a guy I trust to put his full effort in more than anybody. But they also do sort of clamp down around what he does. That's sort of their thing. From just that perspective, I would like to try to find a way to fade Giannis, and the fact that he's going to be the most owned player or most owned spend up, and just overweight the other guys on this Milwaukee side. I know, look, if you're playing a cash game, play Giannis. Okay. Don't trust all of these things. I'm telling you though, it's his worst. It's a team he performs the worst against fantasy wise, and they've gotten better defensively. So I would say that I'm going to be looking at Chris Middleton in a good portion of my lineups, and we'll go through it again at the end. But I'm going to side with that, with no Drew Holiday in tonight. And they made Pat Connaughton at a price where I just don't know if I can get there. But I think I think between Connaughton and Allen, I think that you might want to play one of those guys. Or you could go the George Hill route for the other value, for the sure minutes versus the Jalen Brunson upside. But also Jordan Nwora is not supposed to be owned by anybody, and I don't really know why. He played really, really well in the first game against Brooklyn, put up 29 fantasy points in 27 minutes. I can get behind the guy who put up 29 fantasy points for 3,700. So maybe he's a good value pivot off of, I mean, these are early ownership projections, but we have him so much less owned and George Hill so much less owned than the other guys. It's probably because they still are counting for Holiday, haven't accounted for Holiday yet. But I would just overweight the other guys on the Milwaukee side, especially Middleton. And I'm probably going to be fading Giannis because I'm not playing a ton of lineups, and I want to give myself a chance to get off the board on a 3-game slate. And he says struggled with Miami in the past. How about you from Milwaukee?
Yeah, I'll tell you, first of all, with respect to our content, I every day I hesitate to wonder if I even want to put up like projections at noon. Some guys get missed, some guys don't have a number, some guys were questionable, some guys are whatever. Part of me just wants me to say, you know what, I'll put up good projections at 5:30 and and they'll be tight. But I know people want to see, what to expect during the course of the day. So I'm throwing it up there. But just I encourage all of you, if you're going to look at the projections like at noon, just literally don't rely on them. Like, don't put in lineups based on them, you know what I mean? And forget about it, because everything's good. It really is going to change. Like right now, I have Drew Holiday in like my projections, you know what I mean? Because I haven't adjusted anything for him being out.
Right.
So it's just, I'll just give you that bit of caution. So I think, given what you just said, I mean, I didn't realize, I forgot that Drew Holiday was out. But Drew Holiday's out.
They just announced it.
Oh, okay. But if Drew Holiday's out, then Chris Middleton's, you got to play him. I mean, you got to play him. I mean, he's gonna rate as a very, very strong play. I mean, obviously. And I also think that I don't know if this is true, but somebody's got to start for him, right? I don't know who that's going to be, but somebody is. Who do you think is going to be?
Probably George Hill, but Connaughton and Grayson Allen will get more usage.
Yeah, as will, like you said, maybe even Nwora. I mean, he was terrific. He was terrific. The guy can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all those guys are really in play. Maybe if you really wanted to be funny, you could play those guys and not play Giannis, like you were saying. On the Miami side, I like Butler. I like Bam. Look at some of these new guys, man. Kyle Lowry's on Miami. Tyler Hero, is he gonna have a season of being healthy? That would be nice.
Hero is my prediction is that Tyler Hero is awesome this season.
You know what? He's got to be on the court though. I agree with you. I mean, like, he is great.
I think he's turning the corner this season. This is the year for him, for me.
All right. So, but here's the question. I mean, like, I don't know if you talked about Butler or whatever it is. You always have these very strong takes about when Butler would be trying hard and when he wouldn't be trying hard. And I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that. Is it like you don't even want to play him in a regular season game at all, or you really want to play him in these types of matchups, like coming right out of the gate in their first game?
I think this is a motivation game for him, so I do like him quite a bit. What's hard for me to get to him is if I want to play Middleton and I love Luka, and I like Trey a lot, it's going to be harder for me to find a way to get to him. But I do think that he's a tremendous play, and he probably, I guess I would have him ahead of Trey, just would go way for my game stack. Ooh, it's close though. I mean, honestly, I think both he and Bam are in great spots, but I do think motivationally wise, this is a spot where on a large slate I might have targeted Butler. And it's not as desperate down the stretch or anything, but this is the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year after their championship run the year before. There's a lot of buzz around Miami this season being a legitimate title contender. They could put their foot down right away. They've done really well against Milwaukee in the past. The games have kind of dudded. And my initial instinct would be to take the under in this game. But I do like Butler. I do think it's a good spot for him to have a game. They just have they don't need to rely on him the same way they did last year. It's not like he has to have a triple double because you've got Kyle Lowry out there. You've got a healthy Tyler Hero. You've got, Duncan Robinson with another year. You've got another year out of Bam. So I don't know that they'll need to rely on him, but motivationally, yes, it would be one of those kind of games.
I actually have, I'm going to try to give one opinion every day in the NBA as far as like spreads go. And give my confidence level. I actually really, really like someone on the slate today from a betting perspective. And again, I don't know what my record is, but it's pretty good from percentage.
Pretty good.
Let's put it that way. I don't even know what the spread is. What is the spread on this game, by the way?
It's 1 for Milwaukee.
Okay. I really like Miami.
Me too.
Plus the 1. I really like them. I'll give you a little history of this. My college buddy of mine who I do a lot of Survivor stuff with, and his twin brother is the guy that we is Big Al that we had on whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
One of the trends that used to be just like a stone lock. Now it's not exactly the same right now, because they kind of got rid of the back-to-back games in the NBA. But whenever you would have a team with like a home opener, and then their next game was playing a team playing their home opener, you'd always play the team playing their home opener against the team that just played their home opener. And they used to make it really easy. They used to actually make it back-to-back games. You'd have a home opener with the crowd going nuts. And then the next day, the team have to go back-to-back in another stadium with the other team's fans going nuts. Now, this is not exactly the same because it's not Milwaukee back-to-back. But the fact that they played Brooklyn, which was a game that they really just made a good statement on, is good enough for me to bet on kind of a letdown here. And given everything else you just said with the extra motivation, Miami, Kyle Lowry, he's got a lot of freaking pride too. You know what I mean? Like he'll get down with that also. So I like Miami a lot here.
And I'll go a step further. I think Miami ends up, I don't know where they end up in the top 4 in the East, but I think that they end up in the top 4, and I think they're going to be a absolutely nightmare out. Like they're going to have a hard time beating this team in the postseason. But I totally agree with you. It's all very logical. The only thing that worries me is that Milwaukee is the best team in the NBA. And I'm not saying they're going to.
I don't care about that. No,
I'm just saying. But now, part of why. Let me just finish real quick. Part of why I think they're the best team, though, is they bring it every night. Giannis doesn't have another mode. They could easily in that Brooklyn game. It could have been a lighter thing. And I had a very strong take that night that they were going to beat the hell out of Brooklyn, and they did. They're a better basketball team. They are the best team in the NBA at this very moment. I'm not saying they're going to end up that way. That's the only counter I'd have to it. But I do think Miami. This game does scream of Miami.
Dude, of course, there's counters. That's why I give myself about a 50.6% chance to win it.
No. I know. I totally agree with everything you said. So I was almost just saying it for my own sake. But I totally agree with all your thoughts. And I think it's I don't know. I think the Bam. I think it's a great. It should be great for Bam, right? But if you get into Bam versus Butler, it's an interesting conversation. And I think I would give the slight edge to Bam. But it's really close.
It's a 3-game slate. Just play them both.
Well, you can't though, because I want to play the other guys in the first game.
Oh well.
That's my problem. And then some of these guys in the last game as well. So
can't have everything.
Can't have everything. It is always hard to do these in the morning, even on these days. Sheets, how many guys? What was there? 6 guys? In the 2 hours before lock that were announced out yesterday. They weren't always that significant, but that's on the first game of the season. You know what I mean? Like, look what we're going to be in for, man.
It's rough, man.
Wild.
It's gonna be a rough one.
I will stay dialed in as much as I can to try and figure out what I can in this situation. All right, you ready to talk Clippers and Warriors?
Yeah.
I'm surprised about this spread as well. I would have guessed the Warriors would be a larger than a 3.5-point favorite here against the Clippers. But having said that, starting with the Clippers side, Zubac is the obvious chalk, I think for good reason. They don't necessarily need to play a big is the only reason that worries me a little bit. They could use, Morris as the 5 if they want to. They don't really have another big. I'm not going to play Hartenstein that many minutes. Maybe they will. I think Zubac is like kind of like a cash game must at this moment.
Why is that? I don't.
He's 5K. He's going to play 32 minutes. He's a good fantasy point per minute, reasonably good fantasy point per minute producer. They have no bigs on Golden State. They're going to get eaten up inside. And he is projected to basically 6.5x his price, right?
Well, so this is what you have now. So this is what I like. We have a crowded position, right? If you want to play Bam or Capella.
I know, exactly, yeah.
And then what if you want to play Dwight Powell at 3,300?
See, that's where I think the Dwight Powell's going to probably end up falling by the wayside for me because of that.
Okay.
But again, I'm not going to say he's going to be completely out of my list yet. It's early in the morning. We'll see what happens as the day goes on. But as of right now, I have it as just Zubac and Marcus Morris for me. And I also think there's an outside chance for a Kennard pivot off of Brunson or something. There's always the heat check ability. He can get hot and change a slate for you, but I can't really touch anybody else in the Clippers at these prices.
You don't want to play Paul George?
Not at 9,700, I don't.
Okay.
I love him at 9,700 in plenty of games this year, but on a 3-game slate where I've got Luka at 900 more, Giannis at 700 more or 600 more, who I'm not even playing, I don't see Paul George outscoring those guys a high enough percentage of the time, personally. If anybody else wants to do it, that's totally good with me. I'm just not leaning that way myself right now.
Yeah, I'll try it. I don't know.
Okay, go for it. I love it.
I'll try it. I'll sit. I'll sit there in the first 2 games and root for power outages and stuff. And I don't know. I think I'll try it. I'll I don't know. Kawhi out. Paul George is usually a good play. It's 9,700. It was 8,700. We freaking go crazy. So it's an extra 1,000. Whatever. What's 1,000? What's 1,000 between friends? I don't know. This way, I'll play if where I can save 1,000. So I'll play Paul George with actually I'm saving so I'm saving the 1,000 that I should be getting for Paul George, right? He should be 8,700. I'm paying 9,700. So I'll play Dwight Powell. This way,
well, I do think Paul George's 9,700 isn't that unreasonable, but they're sort of using playoff, where we need to go through you every play kind of version of Paul George. And I just don't know if the Clippers are going to be dumb enough to well, I don't want to say dumb enough, but I don't think they're going to run their offense that way, where Paul George has to score 50. Paul George, I don't expect to average 50 plus fantasy points per game. Let's put it that way.
What is Kawhi hurt? Is he already under load?
Yeah, he's out, but he's done. He's out for the season.
Oh, what happened?
He's been hurt. He got hurt last year. That never recovered.
What is he, an ACL or something?
I can't remember all the natures of every injury. I know it is something like that, and people will make fun of me. I hate those questions because I'm supposed to know the answer, and I know.
If you knew, I was just going to ask.
Oh no, it's my fault because
I don't say you're supposed to know. I'm just asking if you know.
No, it's not your fault, man. It's my fault. It's because I feel like I'm supposed to know it, but I do know it. I just can't remember everything at once.
There it is. Torn ACL.
The ACL, right? Yeah.
Oh, he's ahead of schedule. Let's see.
What does that mean?
Oh, my return to practice in April.
Okay. Yeah. In April.
Oh, I you know what? The ACL is
it's rough business, man. We just lost.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had an ACL?
I didn't have it, no, but my ex-girlfriend had it. She was a what's it called player, lacrosse player. And I've had some other friends who have had it really, really bad. And
I did. I went through ACL.
I remember you did. That's rough.
It's bad.
Rough, man.
It's bad for someone older too. Anyway, okay, so what about Golden State?
So Golden State, so Curry is the other, like the natural. I think he's going to be the second highest owned spend up behind Giannis. And I love Curry. I'm going to play into this. Luka goes a little bit crazier than Curry does tonight. Now, in Curry's defense, he played as in his own words. He said, "I played absolutely like trash," and they beat the Lakers in LA. And he still put up 58 fantasy points, shooting 5 for 21 from the floor. Okay. So I also am on board with the Curry is the MVP, is going to be the MVP most likely this season, in my opinion. I think it sets up perfectly for him. And I think he also probably is the natural guy I would bet on to lead the league in scoring as well. But I am playing the Luka over Trey today. I think it's going to be a very Luka-centric thing in Dallas. It worries me with Jason Kidd there that maybe it won't be quite as much as it was. I think that's the right way to play this Dallas team. But I probably am going to be less on Curry. And I think this Jordan Poole is a really good basketball player. I just want to point out, though, he's 5,500. Everybody talked about how well he played the other night. He was not going to get there for a while. And he got there late. And look who was not owned on a 2-game slate, which I'd like to give Damian Lee. And now what did he do? He played 30 minutes. He put up 19 fantasy points. He struggled a little bit.
Give me 30 minutes.
Yeah, he gets a couple threes and all of a sudden you're in there. But Damian Lee is going to be owned this time. That's the difference.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he's going to have ownership. I think is projecting much.
I got him at like 15%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have him at higher, but again, we'll see what happens as the day goes on. But we need to hear the Wiggins and Draymond current restrictions. Yes. Even restricted wise, I think that Wiggins is at this price is very much in play at 5,900. And I just probably am going to be off of it. I honestly feel weird to say it, but I might try to squeeze Steph in, but with Luka, but I don't think I'm going to pay a ton of attention to these other guys. Unfortunately, Bjelica had such a big game the other night. I would even be willing to pay the 4.6 for him if he wasn't going to be owned. I mean, I think he made them work the other night. He was the reason they won that game. He dominated in so many different ways too. He had 4 assists that were like all 3-pointers, and it was just him running. They just moved the ball so beautifully with him on the court that I would love to take another chance at that. The problem is I think Bjelica is even going to be owned tonight. So I'm having trouble with the ownerships getting to what I want on for the Warriors, and because of that, I'm just not as heavy on.
I like Curry. And I like Jordan Poole, and I'll take a shot at Damian Lee. I don't want to play Wiggins. I don't want to play Draymond Green. I just don't like playing these minutes restriction dudes. I just don't like it.
I'm still not sure about Draymond's minutes restriction for this game, but you're right though.
I don't know. I just don't want to do it. I do like what you said, by the way, about Luka. I mean, who's guarding? No one can ever guard him, but any game with Trae Young on the floor is good for the other team.
Right.
That's the way it is.
But especially you talk about these narratives do matter, man.
That's that same thing, right?
Yeah, who got all the praise? These guys were traded for each other on draft day. You know what I mean? And it's still, to me, one of the worst trades in the history of basketball, because I think Luka's going to be an all-time. I don't see how he doesn't end up as a top 25 at worst player of all time. Whereas Trae may be the 100 and something at best.
Right.
Anyway, I do think that one, I want to get access to that first game for some reason. It feels like the best game to me. And all these guys, I think that Steph is a tremendous play. So maybe I try to do the cheaper guys for Atlanta and play Steph and Luka and start my lineups there.
If you have Steph and things aren't shaking out for you after those first 2 games,
Paul George.
I would pivot to Paul George.
I love it. I think it's a great call. But do you have any thoughts on this? Because everybody's sort of at that weird price. We've got minutes restriction possibilities. I can't quite find anybody on the.
Yeah, I have another guy, by the way. You mentioned Luke Kennard, right? But we used to every once in a while play Terrence Mann. Only because it's 3 games played, I feel as though I want to just kind of poke around.
I love that call.
And see who else is around, because he does have a seal. I mean, I've seen it happen.
And not only that, he's a guy they're extremely high on. Huge minutes upside, I would say, for him. There's no reason why instead of Luke Kennard playing 22 minutes, that Luke Kennard doesn't play 10 minutes and Terrence.
Yeah, I don't like playing Luke Kennard.
Well, yeah, whatever. I'm just saying, their price, there's a price gap. I'm saying, but if 10 of those minutes, which is totally possible, and Luke Kennard plays 12 minutes, 10 of those minutes go to Terrence Mann, he plays 32 minutes. That guy's going to be really, really good out there. And also the team they're playing against, you'd think they would want to have 3 guards out there. The Clippers, not even counting Paul George. So you can play, Reggie Jackson, Bledsoe, and Terrence Mann all together, for example. I don't buy Bledsoe playing as many minutes as they're projecting him either.
I like, by the way, now that's the thing. I was going to say, what happens if Zubac gets into foul trouble? This is not a game that Zubac gets into foul trouble.
It's always possible with him.
You have Isaiah Hartenstein at 3,100.
Yeah. Again, that center spot. But yeah, I mean, I could see it paying off, the Hartenstein thing. I just,
Okay. I don't know. Again, only because it's 2-3 game slate, I figured I would mess around with this.
Yeah, it feels hard on this little slate to get a great grip on.
Well, hey, what about what's his name? We used to, what about this guy? If the game doesn't go that big, what about Maxi Kleber? I mean, they don't project him, I guess, for that many minutes because he's not showing up as a player or anything like that. But he's always been a part of what they were doing in Dallas. No.
Well, Porzingis was out for the whole postseason.
Oh, okay, that's why he got all that run.
That was part of it. But that's why I was saying that the Dwight Powell thing. Like, I would rather. Right. Why are we playing Powell over Kleber? Kleber fits so much better in with what they do offensively. Although I just don't know Jason Kidd's tendencies yet. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I'm at anyway. But to sort of recap some of them. So I am going to be playing Luka. I like Trey. I like Steph. So I'm going to be mixing those guys. I like KP at his price and Capella. These are the expensive guys. For the value, I like Zubac. I like Nwora. And I think that the projections are just off on his ownership. I think he's going to be much higher owned than he's projected for. Wow. I prefer Brunson over Powell. I prefer probably Kleber over Powell, but I prefer George Hill over Powell also. I prefer Damian Lee. Those are the guys who I probably will be using for value. And then I'm going to have to make sure Chris Middleton's basically in a good portion of my lineups, if not all of them, because if I'm not betting on Giannis, somebody goes off. And I just get the feeling that one of the Connaughton or Grayson Allen could be a guy who gets you there, but they're a little bit pricier than we want to pay for them in general. I think we can probably get away with it tonight.
Yep.
Anything else to add for the final sheets?
No, short slate. Short slate. We'll see what happens. I mean, I would, you know what? Maybe you're supposed to just just overstack one of these games. Like you were suggesting. Like maybe say, I just think the Dallas Atlanta game is going to go off, and just load up with the studs in that game. And that you play Trey, you play Capella, play Luka, play Kristaps, and then just kind of figure the rest out.
Yeah. Sounds good. I don't know if you can get all that in, but that sounds good to me.
No.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we'll
hold on. Let's just for fun. Just for funsies.
Okay.
Let's see how much we have left if we do that. So if you go Trey, Kristaps, Trey, and we'll put Capella in here. So that leaves us with 4,000 a man. So you have Dwight Powell. Talk about that. You have Damian Lee if you want to do that. Is Damian Lee shooting guard eligible somehow?
Yeah.
So I mean, you could do it, but it's certainly not easy.
Yeah, that makes some sense though.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey, good luck. I will not be with live because I will be rooting on my Dodgers, hopefully staying alive.
I will be there tonight.
Sheets is your man for tonight, and we will we'll be doing a NFL showdown first look coming up in just a moment. Okay, good luck everybody.
Okay. All right, later.